Sometimes when I chat with other dog owners about food and mention that I feed Benji a DIY raw diet, I get the same response over and over again. Usually something along the lines of, "You must have a lot of free time," or "I work full-time, I can barely cook for myself, there is no way I could cook for my dog." And honestly, I get it. Fresh feeding can sound overwhelming. Most people imagine standing in the kitchen every evening, chopping meat and veggies and weighing supplements while their dog stares at them impatiently. But the funny thing is, I actually consider myself a pretty busy person. I run my own business. I work most days of the week. My to-do list somehow keeps getting longer instead of shorter. I exercise, I have hobbies, I try to have some kind of social life. And yet, feeding Benji fresh still doesn't feel like this huge burden people imagine it to be. Is it more effort than scooping kibble into a bowl? Of course, I'm not going to pretend it isn't. But when I look at the overall picture, the pros massively outweigh the inconvenience for me, and I genuinely wouldn't change it. So I thought I would show you what the process actually looks like in real life, how I organize it, and how much time it takes me each month. Because I think a lot of people imagine fresh feeding as something you have to do every single day from scratch, and that's really not how I now approach it at all. Yes, years ago when I first tried doing DIY, I would prepare each meal the evening before, and honestly, that was exhausting. Finding bones, meat and organs I needed in our chest freezer was annoying. Then it would take me forever to cut frozen meat into smaller portions. And so I would always dread the evenings because I knew I still had Benji meal prep waiting for me before I could fully relax. That was the point where fresh feeding really started feeling inconvenient. But then I switched to batch prepping and it completely changed everything. Now preparing Benji's food for an entire month takes me less than 3 hours in total. The first step is planning the recipes and ordering ingredients. Usually I formulate around 3 different recipes using a variety of proteins and then calculate the quantities of ingredients for 10 days of each recipe. That way Benji gets more variety throughout the month without me constantly having to come up with new meal ideas. And if formulating recipes yourself sounds intimidating or you simply don't have the time nor the will to do it, that's completely fine too. You can use pre-formulated recipes that are available online, buy dog cookbooks, or use our Drooli app, which already has balanced raw and cooked meals that automatically adjust to your dog's requirements. We add new recipes every month as well, so there is plenty of variety. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's only available in the UK at the moment though. And if you don't want to do DIY feeding at all, there are now loads of brands offering complete and balanced fresh meals, both raw and lightly cooked. In that case, feeding fresh can honestly be as simple as taking food out of the freezer the night before. Once I have decided on the recipes, I either place an order online or visit our local raw feeding shop. If I'm too busy to drive there, they actually offer same-day delivery if I order before midday, which makes life much easier. And I also support local business, which is a win-win situation. Once my ingredients arrive, they usually still frozen but slightly softened from transport, which is actually perfect because it makes everything much easier to portion. I then divide all the meat into containers recipe by recipe and freeze them straight away. And yes, before anyone points it out, I know storing food in plastic isn't ideal. I do want to improve that eventually, but I still haven't found the perfect alternative. Glass containers are great, but take up loads of storage space, and the silicone bags I bought turned out to be incredibly flimsy. So if you found a good freezer-friendly solution, let me know in the comments because I'm still searching. The actual portioning takes me about 2 hours in total for all 3 recipes. I label everything clearly so I know what's what, then stack it all in our chest freezer, which honestly was one of the best purchases we've made. Especially if you have a larger dog, having lots of freezer space makes planning so much easier and removes a lot of the stress around running out of food. Then we move on to supplements and add-ons. croutons. Because let's be realistic, most homemade diets aren't magically balanced just because they contain meat. So for each recipe, I prepare the powders and supplements separately in bulk. I mix everything thoroughly, store it in containers, and then simply add the right amount on feeding day. And this step probably saves me more time than anything else, because measuring every single supplement individually every day gets annoying very quickly. But taking one box out from the freezer and adding one pre-made scoop, that takes seconds. For me, that's the difference between a routine you can realistically stick to long term and one that slowly becomes frustrating. And honestly, once you get into the rhythm of it, it becomes surprisingly normal. You build up a small library of recipes you already know work well. Some suppliers let you reorder previous orders with one click. You learn which ingredients are easiest to source. You get faster at portioning. Half the time I'm listening to a podcast or watching something while I prep anyway, so it doesn't even feel like lost time. And the same logic applies to home cooking too. If you use pre-made balanced recipes from books, websites, or apps like our Drooli, you've already removed a huge amount of the mental work. Batch cooking and freezing meals is absolutely the key, because otherwise you end up cooking constantly, and that's where people burn out. Fresh feeding doesn't have to mean spending hours every evening in the kitchen. For me, it's more like setting aside a few hours once a month so that the rest of the month becomes easy. And personally, when I look at the potential benefits for long-term health, digestion, energy levels, and overall quality of life, that trade-off feels completely worth it. So yes, kibble is convenient. Nobody can deny that. But convenience comes at a cost. I think a lot more busy people could realistically feed fresh than they realize, especially once they stop imagining it as this complicated daily task and start treating it more like monthly meal prep. Thanks for watching.